Alright, hello again, guys. You got James here, FSX Flight Sim Addict. I'm going to cover some basics just for FSX. I'll do a separate one for REX. This is going to be a real short one. I'm going to show you some basic FSX items that everyone flying FSX should know how to do, and a couple of basic tweaks, and one really in-depth tweak that I'm going to walk you through. That's from my buddy over in England, Paul Jenkins. He runs the FSX Performance Issues, Tips, and Tweaks page. And he's a guru when it comes to FSX tweaks. Very knowledgeable and very helpful, very nice guy. He's more than happy to help you. Just go to his page and on Facebook and message him. He also is an admin along with Jurgen and Nick on FSX Next Generation. All good friends of mine, and we all kind of help each other out quite a bit, back and forth. My page is more for the screenshots. I put up some stuff every now and then about tweaks or some news with somebody having a great sale or something like that. They're more FSX Next Generation, and Jurgen and Nick are more. Well, I mean, they do screenshots too. Don't get me wrong, but they also kind of they're more involved with Paul and his page and the tweaking side and stuff like that. But anyway, all three of us kind of are friends, and we kind of help everybody out as best we can. But Paul is the guru as far as tweaks, and his page, like again is FSX Performance Issues, Tips, and Tweaks. I think it was taken down, but he's putting it back up. Last I heard, but some of these tweaks are his, and a couple of them are just common. The Behoti tweak the Jesus tweak is pretty much common knowledge among the FSX community. And I understand too. A lot of you, a lot of you were me 5 years ago. I was flying FSX. I bought FSX with the acceleration disc, and I was flying the Orbit Airlines 737, whatever, at all the FSX default. I had no idea there were add-ons for FSX. No clue. Never heard anything about it. Then one day I did a searched FSX for something I was looking for, and all this stuff come back. Google just brought up this new world, and I'm like, what is this? And it's airports and aircraft and all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know any of this existed before today. So now 5 years into it, I'm pretty handy with the tweaking and how to do stuff with it. And I should be after 5 years of trial and error with it, but yeah, I mean, it opened up a whole new world. And sometimes when I get some of these questions, and all of us are like that, we get some of these basic questions, and it's the initial response is, well, what are you talking about? Why don't you know that? And then you got to kind of stop and go, okay, wait, take me back 5 years, and this is me. This guy's just now learned about this and just now heard about it, and he has no idea how to add an aircraft to FSX and how to add a paint to it. I mean, that's something now at this point I can do in my sleep. I mean, it's just muscle memory. It just does it. But we have to sometimes step back and go, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, this is a real basic question for us, but this guy may have just found this. I mean, he had no idea about it. So we try to be nice. If we get a little testy every now and then in some of our responses, it's because of that. We're not remembering that we were like that at one point too. But we try and do our best to do that. But and yeah, some of the questions to us are kind of silly, or well, not so much silly, but it's oh my God, why you don't know how to do that? You know, 2 plus 2 is 4. Like I said, we have to remember that, hey, 5 years ago that was me, and I had no clue how to do any of that either. So be nice and help them out. But and we do. I try and help everybody that I can. Anybody that asks me anything, I go through and help you to the best of my knowledge. And then the problem is, I also need to start remembering too to break it down a little bit more, because some of that's just secondhand to me, and sometimes my responses are, well, you do this, this, and this, and then you guys come back and go, well, what's this? Where do I find that? Then it's like, okay, then I really know where you're at, as far as level wise on FSX and what if you're just starting out, if you just figured this stuff out, if you're just finding out about it, or if you've done it a few times, I can kind of judge by the next response uh, what level you're at, and then I can go into a lot more depth for you if you're just the beginner, and I don't have to go into so much depth if you've done a few things. But usually the second response from you lets me know where you're at. Then I can kind of customize my responses from there on how in depth I need to be. But anyway, and I apologize. I've got a sinus infection really bad, so if my voice sounds nasty, that's what it's from. But not feeling so great. But anyway, um, for those of you that don't have Rex, that don't know what Rex does, or this is a shot that I took from my FSX of the Albio Waco or Waco, however you want to pronounce it, with Rex clouds and Rex sky. And I mean, if that doesn't look pretty much photo real, I don't know what does. I mean, those clouds are absolutely amazing, and that's Rex. Everything in Rex is from a photograph. All the textures, all the colors, everything is from photographs in real world. That's what they use to make all their textures, and that's why you get such magnificent looking clouds and skies, and then the aircraft. Obviously, Alabio did a wonderful job on this Waco. I think it's the YMF5, I believe. That's probably wrong, but it's those four letters in some order. If that's not the correct order, uh, and the crispness and sharpness of the shot is probably more. I mean, I get asked that all the time. How come your screenshots look so good? And I it's a combination of everything, man. Everybody's FSX is different. All these tweaks are subjective. Some will work for some won't work at all for others. I mean, it just depends on what your system is and what tweaks you put into it. Some work, some don't. It's been a long process to get to this point where my shots do look like this. Um, but more than anything, other than system, I would have to say it's the tweaks more than anything that gets my shots looking this good, because I'm running a Dell Inspiron 580. Okay, the only thing I've done to it at this point is I bought 16 gig of Corsair Vengeance RAM memory. Okay, so I have 16 gig of Corsair Vengeance memory. I have a 650-watt Thermaltake power supply, and let's see what else. That's it. Everything else is stock. It's got the stock ATI, AMD ATI 5450 graphics card. If you look at the thing, it's probably a third of the size of one of these big cards you'd go spend 150, 350, $500 on. You know how they take up the whole bottom half of the computer and they're double thick. This thing's just a tiny little, it looks like a sound card more than a graphics card, but just a basic little card. I don't even think it may have a tiny little fan on the bottom side of it, but you can go to AMD and look up ATI 5450, and it'll pull up one that's in a box, it's in a case. And that's not even the one I have. I have the OEM, the original equipment one. It's probably half the size of the one that you'll see when you pull it up. It's not in a case. It's just an open card. You can see all the stuff on the little transistors. It's just open, just like a sound card is stock. So I mean, it's got 1 gig dedicated memory, and I think it runs at 400. The clock speed is 400 megahertz. I mean, it's nothing intense. It goes up to 800 on the other side of it. I mean, it's not one of these $350 NVIDIA GTX 660 Ti's that they just brought out for 350, $400. It has 2 gig of DDR3 memory or DDR5 memory. Uh, with all these tweaks running, the processor's running at 1200 and the clock speed is 1600. It's nothing like that. It's just a basic stock graphics card. So, like I said, more than anything, my shots, the quality of my shots are coming from the tweaks that I've done to my FSX config in conjunction with the system I'm running. I've got a quad core i5. Uh, it runs at 2.93 gig. It get turbo boost up to 3.33 if it needs to. And like I said, the biggest thing I've done to it was put the Thermaltake power supply in it, 650 watts, and the 16 gig of Corsair Vengeance running at 1600 megahertz. So that's a biggie. And FSX native form default will technically only use 3.5 to 4 gig of memory. That's how it was coded. But having the 16 gig of memory also keeps everything else running fast and smooth. When you're flying FSX, there's still background programs running. You still have Windows running. You still have all that going on. So that's having that 16 gig at 1600 megahertz is pretty fast memory. Okay, so it takes a big burden off just that one core running the basic stuff in the background behind FSX. So that helps run FSX smoother as well, even though its native code is to only use 3.5 to 4 gig of memory. And there is a tweak to make sure that it runs 4 gig instead of 2, that it'll use the full 4 gig. And that's a Paul Jenkins tweak, FSX Performance Issues, Tips and Tweaks guy. I will show you that. You can see that right here. It's this Explorer suite. I will walk you through that because that's a tough one. I actually had to have Paul walk me through it, so I will do the same for you. But anyway, that's one of my V key shots. It's untouched, unedited. That's just a straight V key with the Alabio, Waco, and Rex in the background. Rex clouds in the background. Um, so I'm going to show you a few tweaks here. We'll get into this. I'm going to start with something very, very basic that everyone using FSX needs to know. Okay? Go to your start screen. Down here at the bottom, I want you to type in hidden. HIDDEN. You don't even have to put folders. It'll come up. Show hidden files and folders. In order for you to find your FSX config, you have to unhide your folders. Otherwise, you'll never see the folders you need to open to get to your FSX config. There are FSX configs. There's one in REX. There may be one in your FSX folder, the main folder. There may be one in your Flight Simulator X files folder, where your screenshots and stuff go, or where your saved flights go. There may be one in there. That's not the one we need. Okay. You have to do this. So your start menu, type in hidden, show hidden files and folders. You click that, and it's going to bring you up to this page. Files and folders. It's probably going to be like that for you. Okay? You need to come down here and click show hidden files, folders, and drives. Apply. Okay. That's done. Now you can find your FSX config, and I'm going to walk you through that right here. You're going to hit start. You're going to hit computer. You're going to open your C drive. You're going to scroll down to users. You're going to click on owner. And now here's where you would get stuck. This would not be here if you have not clicked show hidden files and folders. You can see how it's kind of faded out compared to the other ones anyway. Okay. App data will not show up unless you go in and click show hidden files and folders. So you open that, you go down to roaming, and then you scroll down to Microsoft, and then there's your FSX folder. Okay, that's not your main FSX folder. This is where the config and other operating items sit for FSX. Okay, open that up. You come down, lo and behold, there's the FSX config. Imagine that. This is the one, anytime you make tweaks to your FSX config, this is the one you have to use. Okay, so I'm going to open this up, and you're going to see that I have obviously used the Jesus Behoti tweak. Okay, hang on a second. Yeah, I'm a smoker. I know it's bad for you, but it's been a long, rough day. Okay, it says that when it was tweaked, and then it shows me, I mean, there's, just so you know too, I'm going to take you here and show you how to do this. But just so you know, there is, always back this up before you do anything. Okay? If you're getting ready to tweak your config, when you first get here, and you do all this stuff and you first open this up, when you get here, copy and paste it out here, man. Okay? And then you can do a new folder and name it original FSX CFG. Okay? And then drag that in there. Always save a backup copy. That way, if something goes wrong or if the tweaks aren't working and it's running much worse than what it was, you can always go back and you'll do the same thing you're going to do with the tweaked one. You'll open this up and you're going to grab this and you'll drag it right back in here, and it'll say, do you want to, overwrite? Click yes. Do you want to replace this? Yes. Okay, but always back it up first before you do anything to it. Okay, so I'm going to open this up again. We've backed it up. I want to show you a few things on here. If you haven't tweaked this, you won't see any of this up here, obviously. You won't see buffer pulls. There's a lot of stuff you won't see, okay? Something that this adds, and we'll start with buffer pulls here since it's first. Sometimes when you do the Behoti tweak or the Jesus tweak, it's the same thing. It's just some people know it as one or the other. It'll just give you reject threshold 13, 10, 72. You won't have pulls, you won't have use pulls. So if you do the Behoti tweak, come back in when you put this in that FSX folder, open this up and see what this says. If it just has buffer pulls, reject threshold 13, 10, 72, add these two lines. Pulls equal, my system runs best at 25 million. You can try 20 million, you can do 80 million, you can do anything in between. And that's something, like I said, all these tweaks are hit and miss. You're not necessarily going to be able to do just the Behoti tweak and have it magically work. You might have to come in here and tweak a couple things, and that's why I'm going through some of these to show you which ones you would want to change. And then again, it may work fine. You may see a huge improvement and be getting 150, frames per second. I mean, whatever. If that works, it works. But most of the time, like I said, when you do this Behoti Jesus tweak, it's just going to say buffer pulls, reject threshold 13, 10, 72. Below that, just put your cursor here and hit the enter button. Make a space. Write pulls equal 20 million, 15 million, 10 million, 80 million, anywhere in between. I've played with this for a long time. My system prefers 25 million. Why? I have no idea. But when I put it at 10, 15, 20, 35, 50, it doesn't perform as well. So this is the one I have found over the years that works best for me. So I would start at somewhere around 20, 25 million, okay? If you're getting lags or jitters or whatever, back it down to 15. You may back it down to 10. Try those first. Don't go to 80 immediately. I mean, try 20, 25, 10, 15, some of those four, and see what the differences are. If it's working, if you start at, say, 20 million and it's working fine, leave it alone. Next, you're going to put use pulls equals 1. What this does, you can have 1 or 0. With my system, 1 works the best. Some people's systems can actually are big enough. If you got a big, i7, Core i7, and you got a $400, $500, $600, $700, $300 graphics card in there that's got the 2 gigabyte dedicated memory, you can put 0 here, and some of the systems will run it just fine or even better. What this tells us the computer and FSX to do, if it has use pulls 1, you're drawing memory from the computer. You're using computer memory, okay? That's where it draws the virtual memory from. If you change this to 0, it's using the graphics card memory, okay? So if your card has 1 gig dedicated memory or 512 megabyte dedicated memory, I mean, I wouldn't even, I mean, in all honesty, with FSX, I would at least have 1 gig memory. I mean, I would go 512 would be pushing it for performance. I would at least have a card with 1 gig dedicated memory. If you want to spend, $200-300 and get one with 2 gig, that's even better. I mean, that's my next step. I'm going to look into that and test one out and see what the differences are. But that's what this does, though. Use pools equals 1, draws from the computer's virtual memory. Use pools equals 0, draws from your graphics card virtual memory. Okay. So if you got a big card, try 0. See which one works. I mean, I know Paul, the performance issues, tips, and tweaks guy, he uses 0. He's got a big card with 2 gig dedicated memory, and it runs fine. He says so. It's just different for everybody. But I use 1 to let it draw from the computer. But you can switch that up however you want to. You want to try it either way. Try it both ways. Whatever, whichever one works best. Leave it at that. Next thing we're going to come down to is you're going to see under graphics, Behoti Tweak's going to add this high mem fix, okay? Equals 1. Leave that like it is. If you're running REX, your texture max load should be in the REX config, should be set to 4096 or 2048, depending on your system. If you want the best quality, 4096 high def is going to do that for you. A little bit less quality, but still high def is 2048. The 1024 is not high def, so you at least want 2048. If you're running an i5 quad core, you should be fine at 4096, and you can set this accordingly in REX. And that's why you always open FSX by opening REX first. It ensures that when FSX opens, this stays at 4096. If you open up FSX and go into settings, if you change anything in there, this automatically backs down to 1024. So your next flight would be in 1024, non-high def. So that's why, if you need to make changes in the settings, that's fine. Make the changes in the settings, then close FSX, and then come back and open it via REX. And it will go back to 4096. Okay? And if you're flying along one time and you notice that things don't look quite right, when you close FSX out, open the config and see what this is set at. That's probably the culprit. It's probably back down to 1024 for some reason. Either you forgot to open it through REX or whatever else. I mean, I'm sure there's different things that can cause that, but that's definitely one. That's why you always want to open FSX through REX to ensure that this stays at the highest quality setting. Moving down here, under main, okay, this is something I add. This line right here, hide info text equals 1. You don't have to have that in there if you don't want to. The Behoti tweak does not add that. I added this myself. This right here gets rid of the dreaded little red text boxes all over your screen. Parking brake on, and when you go outside zoom view, nobody wants to see that in the screenshots, man. Get rid of that crap. I mean, I hate it when I see a screenshot of somebody flying in midair and it says parking brake on. And I'm going, why is your parking brake on? And, if you're going to do the screenshots, get rid of all the crap all over the screen. Just have it the shot. But this gets rid of all that. None of that will come up anymore, okay? So, I mean, you're going to have to remember to set your parking brake, control period, or, click it however you turn it on with your joystick or whatever. And it's not going to show up parking brake on, so you're going to have to remember to take your parking brake off. Obviously, if you're outside, I don't need this to tell me I'm outside zoom 20 times. I'm outside. I know where I'm at. I don't need that to tell me what it's doing. The only thing I'll use every now and then is Shift Z, and that brings up your FPS if you hit it twice. It brings up your longitude, latitude, where you're at, your position. If you hit Shift Z twice, again, it'll pull up your FPS. And I hate seeing that. I mean, if you're showing that you're getting 150 or 300 FPS, that's cool. But I hate the shots that show the latitude and longitude. I don't care where you're at. I want to see your picture, And that just, it really, I don't know, it maybe bothers me more than anybody else, but that's just a pet peeve of mine. I hate seeing the red text boxes, and especially the latitude, longitude. I don't care where you're at. I mean, that I want to see your shot, and then when that's there, that red writing takes my eyes right to it immediately, and it's like, man, why is that on here? You know, like I said, if you're doing it to show you're getting great FPS, that's one thing, but I don't need to see that. And the worst culprit of all for me, my biggest pet peeve, is the menu bar going across the top. I don't want to see that in shots. I don't want it in my shots. This does not take care of that. This right here only gets rid of all the red text boxes, the info boxes, okay? Uh, the menu, you know, I mean, it's real simple, man. If you need something from it, you right click, show menu. Do whatever you're going to do in the menu and then right click it and hide menu, you know, especially for your shots. But like I said, maybe that's just me. It might not bother anybody else, but you know, I hate seeing that in pictures. It really drives me crazy. It's kind of like you got this beautiful screenshot here, man, and you ruined it by having this outside zoom view over here and your menu up. I mean, come on. Right click and hide it. Open it up, right click and open it when you need it. Um, but anyway, like I said, hide info text does not get rid of the menu, just all the red text boxes. But like I said, you have to add this if you want to. If you want to get rid of all that stuff, nothing. That's a manual add. Under main, anywhere under, it can be anywhere in here as long as it's under the main. Perf bucket, you can change this. This is the default FSX. Some people, Paul will tell you to change it to 3, 4, or 5. I think he runs his at 5. I've tried it at 5. I don't really see a big difference in it, so I just leave it at 7. Mine runs fine at this, so you know I'm kind of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if everything's running okay with it set at 7, I don't come in and change it. I leave it alone. But that may be something you want to change. You know, change it to 5 or 4 and see the difference. And all these little tweaks. That's a Paul tweak too. All these tweaks. Paul's got all that listed on his page. Okay, and he just released a PDF with like 20 something tweaks in it, 25 tweaks somewhere in there, and it tells you about them too, and how to implement them and what to do with them, and how to utilize them, and why you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have the PDF, if you haven't downloaded that from his page yet, go do that and use the tweaks you want to use. If you don't have that and you don't download it for whatever reason, if you scroll back all the way down to the bottom of his page, back in February of last year, I think, all these are kind of on there separate. He kind of put them on one at a time here and there. And it explains what this does and why you want to set it at 5 or why you want to leave it at 7 or whatever. But you can always, if all else fails, go to his FSX Performance Issues, Tips, and Tweaks page and scroll all the way down in history back to when he first opened his page, and you'll start seeing all these little tweaks here and there. But, you know, like I said, to make it easier, just download the new PDF he did. It's got all of his tweaks in it and what they do and how to implement them. I also changed these to false. Sometimes they're already false, sometimes they're not. Like I said, I don't want to see any of this info on my page for my screenshots. The next thing we come to are these two. Now, the Jesus Behoti tweak will add these. Texture bandwidth multi 70, texture max load 30. This you can change. You can put it at 50. You can put it at 90. You can put it at 30. You can put it at 40. Whatever. You know, keep it a even number. Don't do like 45 or 35. Try. You know, it comes at 70 usually, depending on what your specs are, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. But whatever these come at, try it that way first. Then if you need to mess with something, come back in and mess with it. But you can lower it to 50. Texture max load, mine's set at 30. Depending on, you know, according to what my specs I put in on that page, which will make sense to you when I'm saying that here in a minute when I show you. You can also change this to 21. Upper frame rate limit, I leave mine set to unlimited, which is 0. Okay, it tends to work the best for me on that. If I set it at 25 or 30 or 40, for some reason I get jitters. If I leave it set at unlimited, I don't. If you're running a new computer and you have a widescreen, obviously you want wide view aspect true. You want it 16:9 high def, okay? You don't want the black boxes over here on each side of the screen. You want the picture taking up the whole screen, which is 16:9 if it's high def, 1920 by 1080 pixels. So you definitely want wide view aspect. True. There's my display device. It'll tell you which one you're running. Whatever card you have will show up right here. The mode, and anisotropic, you want that turned on, and you want the anti-lace on. Obviously, mode 1920 1080 by 32. I've seen some that say 16 back here. Change that to 32. Go in your FSX settings and change that under display to 32. Next biggie, and this is probably the biggest. Okay. Well, before I get to that, let me cover this. Your max auto gen, you can change these. Sometimes they're set to 3,000, 4,000. That's too much. You don't need that much. I mean, you've seen my shots, and this is what I have them set at. You get this at 4,000. It's taking up way too much auto gen power to try and load all that stuff up, especially as quick as you're wanting it to load. So this really affects performance on your FPS and stuff. Back these down. I mean, this is even high for some people. I think Paul has his set at like 800 and 700 or something like that. I leave it at 18, 15. You can do both at 15. You can do 1200, whatever. I mean, however you want it. This works fine with my system. I've lowered it from the 3000 and 3500 down to these two, and it works fine. I don't have any issues, so I leave them there. I get plenty of trees. I get plenty of buildings, and I have no adverse effects on my performance, so I leave it there. Here's the most important thing right here. This job scheduler, Affinity mask equals 14. This is pretty much the standby, okay? 14 should always work and should make an improvement. There is a breakdown that Paul has, that he's gone through and done all these calculations for all different processors, the i7s, how many cores, how many threads, and it equals this number. He's done all these calculations and figured all this stuff out. I'm sure that's on his page. I would assume, I haven't opened his PDF yet, but I would assume that that's in there. If not, you need to find that from him. I know it's on his page back in February or March of last year, if it's not in the PDF. But what that will allow you to do is, if and obviously you would know your model number and make of your processor. So Intel, if you're running an Intel, i3, i5, i7, whatever, Intel has a site for processor comparisons. You can go in there, and I'll put a link to that on my page, my FSX Flight Schematic page for you. You can go in there and it lists all their processors, and you open the one up you want. Say you're running an i7 3820. You open up the i7 category box, and you run down, and it's got all of them listed, and you find your processor number. i7 3820. Out to the side of that, and each one, it says how many cores, how many threads, how many gig it's running at. It's got all the info for each processor. When you see you're running 4 cores, 4 threads, it might be 6 cores, 6 threads, or 8 threads, or 4 cores, 8 threads, whatever, depending on what it is. That's when you go back to the thing Paul made up, and with all these calculations, and it will tell you, this is my processor on the Intel page, 3870K. It's 4 cores, 8 threads. Oops, 8 threads. Okay. Then you go back to Paul's page and you scroll down, and he's got them all listed out. 4 cores, 8 threads. Here's the number you need to put in here. Okay. On the i7s, most of the time, it recommends running at 255. That's what your Affinity mask should be. Unfortunately, a lot of people with the i7, when they set the Affinity mask at 255, get jitters. Some don't, some do. And they need a fix for that. So they usually go back to 14. 14 is kind of the standby, okay, if all else fails. With that certain processor, like with my processor, my i5, I can run 255. If that's jittery or laggy or doesn't work for me, I can go to 254. If that doesn't work, I can do 252. If that doesn't work, I can try 63. There's different ones broke down that Paul has done all these calculations for, and that page of his will show you exactly which ones you can use according to your processor's cores and threads. My system runs best at 14. Okay, that's kind of the good old standby. I get the best performance at 14. Why, I don't know, but that's what it is. But you can try whichever one of those you want. When you do this Behoti tweak and you put in you have 4 cores and 4 threads, it may come back and say 255 here. Try it. See if it works. If it works, leave it alone. If it's jittery, come in here and, like I said, try 252, 254, 63, 14, whatever Paul's breakdown page says you can use and try for your particular card or processor, I'm sorry. But 14 works best for me, and 14 pretty much works for everybody. So you at least want this in here saying 14 at bare minimum. What this does is breaks down your 4 cores, okay? It splits them up. That way, you know, the 1 core is dedicated to all your Windows stuff and background programs. Core 2 is now dedicated to running FSX. Core 3 is dedicated to running the add-ons. Core 4 is dedicated to running whatever. But it separates, so there's 3 cores running FSX and all its stuff. 1 core is dedicated and separated to run just the Windows stuff and all the background programs on the computer. If you don't have this in here, you're only getting 1 core for all of FSX and Windows and all that. It's well, you're getting the 4 cores, but they're all utilizing power to run everything. Windows, all the background programs, all of FSX, your add-ons, all that. If you put this Affinity mask in here, it dedicates 3 of those 4 cores for FSX alone, okay, which helps tremendously with performance. So that's why this is one of the most, if not the most important thing to have in there. But like I said, go to Paul's page, download the PDF. If that breakdown's not in there, I know it's on this page back last year, so scroll down and you'll find it in there. And then I'll put a link to the Intel processor comparison page, and you can do that. Now, if you're running an AMD processor, you'll need to go to AMD's website and find their processor comparison page and you know, save it. And then you can still go off Paul's page for how many cores and threads you're running to get the right number to go here. But i7s, you know, like I said, try the 255. If it's jittery or whatever, if you're getting the jitters, you know, you can always go back to 14, or you can try whatever other numbers are available and see which one works the best for you. Obviously, anytime you make changes in here, you want to save before you close it, so hit save and then close it out. Okay, now I'm going to show you this Behoti Jesus tweak. Whoops, what that's doing, I don't want all that crap. Just type, anytime you type in the Jesus or Jesus, however you want to, Spanish it's Jesus, English it's Jesus. Just type in Jesus FSX and it'll pull it up. Go to this one right here, the Vinatubo. This is the Jesus Behoti FSX tweak that probably 80% of the FSX community knows about, and or should anyway. This is the most basic tweak thing you can get. Now you can go through using Paul's tweaks. Paul's not real big on this. You know, he says it takes away quite a bit of stuff out of the FSX config that's there that he likes to have in there. You know, like I said, it's all subjective. This one works fine with my system. I get great performance using it, plus making a couple of changes and adding a couple other things to my FSX config, I get the best performance. So you know, this one doesn't bother me. I like using it, but it's a good starting point. If you just have your normal FSX config that you installed, you at least want to do this, okay? And try to see if it helps improve your performance. Then you can go to Paul's page and start going through some of his other tweaks and adding those in as well, and it should hopefully get even better on the performance side. And like I said, Paul's a great guy, very nice, more than happy to help. I mean, he even has Team Viewer, and he will, if you want him to, he'll even go in and take over your computer and start doing the tweaks that he knows to do. That's how nice he is. He'll even do it for you. And with somebody, a novice, on the novice level, it's actually a lot faster for us to just do it for you, and you kind of tag along and watch what we're doing, so you can remember how to get back to stuff and change things. But uh, this is, I don't mind using this one. I would at least start with this, okay, and see what kind of difference it makes. But when you come here, it's going to ask you how many CPUs threads. That's when you need to know your model number of your processor. You go to Intel or AMD, find out how many CPUs and threads your particular processor has, so you know what to put in here, okay? Mine's got 4. Now, I'm not going to tweak mine because it's already tweaked, but I'm going to show you how to get to that point. Intel CPUs only has hyper-threading active. It should be turned off for FSX. That's the recommendation. Do not use hyper-threading while you're running FSX. So just make sure it's off and click no. It's not active. What's the speed of your CPU? You should know that from your computer will tell you, or you can get it off the Intel processor comparison chart. Mine's 2832. This is going to determine a few things, especially the Affinity mask, what it's going to put in. What type of video card do you have? It lists only GeForce, no ATIs. So pick which one you got. I mean, if it's better than the 480, click that. I put I don't know, and it whatever it puts in there, it works for me. If you're running a 650 or a new 660 Ti, click this one. Click whichever one best suits your series. So I'll do I don't know. Don't want VSync applied. I don't use this. I recommend not using that, because it tells you right down here, if once it does the tweaks, it'll tell you, if you notice this and this, come back in and click VSync off. Turn this off and redo your config. So just leave it off. Optimizations, just do normal. I'll leave it at normal. Okay, then these are set. This tells you right here, go get your FSX config, app data Microsoft FSX config. So you just browse for it, and that's when we do the C users, owner, app data, roaming, Microsoft, FSX. You go down to your config and you'll click that, okay? And actually, this is where you would go and you would double click the FSX, okay? In here, this is the one you want tweaked. All right, I'm going to do from this point on, don't pay any attention. I'm just going to go grab a config so I can show you what this thing actually does. But this is where you want to come, and you want to double click this, or click it once, highlight it, and hit open. It'll pull it up in here, and then you click here to begin. Okay, mine's already tweaked. I'm not going to mess with this one, but this is where you would come, and this is the config you would grab. I'm going to go grab a config so I can show you what it actually will do. Let's go. Here's the stock. Okay, so I'll grab this, and you see it shows it your C drive right here. Click here to begin. Okay. Now this page pops up. Message in green indicates you had the option already optimized. Blue, these are the tweaks that were automatically applied by this tweak page. So it did all of these. It added every bit of this to my FSX config. It added the high mem fix. Okay. Allow shader 30 equals 1. It added the Affinity mask. Okay. Now you'll need to go into and open your FSX config when you get it back to your computer and see if it's set at 14, 255, whatever. It added the buffer pool section and added optimized settings. Now I guarantee you when I open this up, it's probably not going to have the use pools equals 1 and the 20 million or whatever. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm betting it won't. Aircraft shadows removed. Setting texture max load to 30. That's the one you can change to 21 if you need, if this is eating up too much FPS, swap weight, timeout, sound load, max async, batching job, small part reject radius, your water texture resolution. Okay, this is everything it did to that config. Now you want to download a tweaked version of this config. Here's what I was getting at earlier. If all else fails, you forget to back up your original. There's a copy of your original FSX saved right here. Okay, so you can always come back here, and for some reason it'll let you download the original. You can go down here and it tells you each tweak it applied and what it does, what each of those tweaks does. Okay, and then here's that thing. Did you experience a decrease in performance after using this tool? Uncheck the VSync option. That's why I never check it. I just leave it off. Okay, so we're going to download a copy of the tweaked page, or the tweaked file. Yep. Okay, done. It's all done. Close the tabs. Okay, now I want to go find that. Mine goes to downloads. Here we go. This is the one it just did because it's 3:43 p.m. So I'll open this up. Now you've got all this up here. When it was done, the time. See, buffer pools, reject threshold. Didn't add the use pools and the other stuff it said to, and I told you needed to add. So you would add those two lines. You would click there and put, pools. Oops, sorry, I'm in all caps here. Pools equal 20 million. Okay, use pools. Notice it's capital letter at the beginning of each word. Equals 1. If you wanted to draw from your computer's virtual memory, if you got a big graphics card with 2 gig dedicated memory, you can try 0 there. But this is what you want it. You need to add those two lines. Okay, so let's go see what else it did, which it told you already, but I like to check. There's the high mem fix it added. See, text max load 1024. You want to change that to 4096. Oops, 60. 4096. Okay, and go down. Okay, I would want to add, for my personal taste, hide info. Oops, text equals 1. Get rid of all those annoying red information boxes. And like I said, just type it anywhere under main. It could go there, it could go in between any of this, it could go down at the bottom, whatever, as long as it's before this next bracketed text info number 2 in the main section. System clocks, info breaks enable. Now you can change these to false if you want, but that pretty much covers that. Texture bandwidth multi at 34. Okay, so I changed mine to 70. So I guess you can, I told you to make it an even number. Try 34. Leave it at that. You can change this to 21 as well. Try it at, I haven't changed anything it put in. The only thing I did was add the pools and use pools for the buffer pool section. I changed the 4096, which it had nothing to do with that. That's not a tweak that it performed. All their tweaks, I'm not changing. I'm just adding the other things that I know I need to add. So, true on the wide aspect ratio. That's your widescreen. So I'm going to leave this at 34, and we'll give her a whirl. Texture max load 30. Jobscheduler Affinity mask. With the information I plugged in on their site for my cores and my processor, it put 14. That's what it assumes it'll run the best at. I'll leave that there. Load radius it changed. Swap weight timeout it added. Okay, small part reject radius 4.0. It added that. Now Paul's got some more tweaks for that, and he's got specific numbers that you can try. He'll have you change some of these numbers on these. Like I said, if you do the Behoti tweak, come in and add the hide info text equals 1 if you don't want the stuff. Make sure this is set to true, and add those two lines to the buffer pool section and change it to 4096 here, and then I'm done. All their tweaks are in that they provided, and I haven't changed any of them. I'm going to leave them how they are. I changed the things I know that needed to be changed and added just from doing this for so long. You save it, close it out. Now I would copy, then you can go to back to your FSX config folder, owner, app data, roaming, Microsoft, FSX, drop it in here, paste. It will say, oops, because it's named 1, I'm sorry. Yours won't be named, it won't have the 1 after it. Let's do this. You won't have to do all this, but yours will be FSX, just like that. So when you come to drag this in here, it's going to ask you right here, this file, already a file under the same name. What do you want to do? You want to move and replace it. Okay, click on that and it changes it out for you. And then close this, open up FSX or REX, then FSX, and go fly and see what kind of changes you got. If everything's working great and you notice a huge improvement in performance, leave it alone. If it's still jittery or this or that, come back in, close it, open this up, and make some changes. And you can, like I said, the ones I've gone over, or you can go to Paul's page, download his PDF, and make some of the changes that he suggests you make. And it's all, like I said, it's all hit and miss. Some tweaks work for some people, some don't. You're just going to have to try different stuff. But, the good thing is, guys like Paul and that come up with these tweaks, and the other people that come up with these tweaks over the years, at least there's a pool of tweaks, a known base of pools of tweaks, that we can choose from. That's the good part. The hard part is finding out which ones work for you and which ones don't. You just got to add some and try it and see what effect it has on the performance. But that's basically that. That's how you do the Behoti tweak. Here's where your FSX config is. I've pretty much walked you through everything as far as that goes. I will throw that in there. Yeah, just keep both files. Now I'm going to show you how to set your paging file, okay, and how to put your system in high performance mode. Open this up and just type in system. It's going to say control panel system. Yes, click on that. Okay, this is the page that shows you your stuff here. Processor Intel Core i5 760 at 2.8. Actually, mine runs at 2.9. Like I said, it turbo boost up to 3.33 if it needs it. This is just what the baseline is. Installed memory 16 gig of Corsair Vengeance at 1600 megahertz. My operating system. Unfortunately, I hate this because it always goes by the lowest score, which is desktop performance for Windows Aero 4.9. My memory, the best is 7.9. That's the top of the scale. I'm at 7.5 for memory. My processor's at 7.3. Gaming graphics with my ATI 5450 is at 6.2. This obviously, I would assume if you put in the video the new 660 Ti in there, this would go up substantially. But it always goes by the lowest, determined by the lowest subscore, which is this. So anyway, you can go back out of here. When you open this page up, you can do, first one we'll do is a performance. Click on performance information and tools, okay? We want to adjust power settings. It's probably going to be in power save. Take it out of that. You don't want your system slowing down while you're in the middle of flying FSX. You don't want it going into a sleep mode all of a sudden, or what, something silly like that. You want to set it at high performance. If you're running like Razer Game Booster from IOBit, you can put it on this. So as soon as you open up, FSX, it automatically goes into this gaming mode, which what this does is shuts down all unnecessary background programs. But I leave mine in high performance. That way I know it's running in high performance. Obviously, all this, change when computer sleeps, turn this stuff off. I said, you don't want your, for whatever reason, while you're in the middle of flying, the computer goes to sleep on you. High performance, that's what you want. We're going to back out of this. Okay, same thing. You can do it from there while that's open, or you can start over. Type in system, click system, okay? Then when you come in here, you want advanced system settings, okay? It may be on this, it may be on this. You want to put it, click on advanced, okay? Performance, visual effects, virtual memory, settings. Whatever this is, just leave it. I don't mess with this. Some change it for best performance, and basically it unchecks all of these things. Mine runs fine with it here, so I leave it. You want to go to advanced, and if you come down here to virtual memory, paging files, the area on hard disk uses window, or the window uses if it were RAM. You want to change, okay? Yours, I've already done mine obviously, but yours is going to be like this, and it's going to say whatever. These will be blank, okay, if you come in here for the first time. Your system will tell you what it recommends for you to set this at, okay? Currently allocated is 16,343. My computer's telling me, hey man, with 16 gig of memory, we recommend you use 24,514 megabytes, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change this to what my computer is telling me it should be set at. So you would uncheck this, click custom size, and then these will open up. Whatever this recommended number is, type in both of these boxes, okay? Click set. You're done. You've changed your paging file size, which is your virtual memory that the computer uses, that it is recommending to you to use. So you don't have to worry about it messing anything up on your computer, because it itself is telling you that's what it should be set at. So like I said, whatever it's recommended, whatever this number is, it's going to be different for you if you don't have 16 gig of memory. If you're running 8 gig of memory, it might be 10,000 or 12,000. But whatever this says, whatever it recommends, type in both these boxes, click set, okay, and we're going to apply. You'll have to click apply. Okay, then it's going to pop up and say you need to do a restart, blah, 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 and don't restart right then. I mean, go ahead and get out of all this, and then you can do your restart, and it'll change that. Okay, so I've covered your FSX config, I've covered the Behoti tweak, and a few other tweaks. I've covered setting your computer in high performance mode. I've walked you through setting your paging file. The next thing I want to show you here is this little tweak that Paul come up with to trick your computer and FSX into using the full 4 gig of memory, okay? So you would download this out of his PDF. This is here. You're going to open this up. Now this one gets a little tricky, so you need to pay attention to this, and that's why I'm walking you through it. You're going to open that up. Always right click and run as admin. Next. Doesn't matter where you put it really, just as long as it's on there. Where did it say? Program files NT core. Okay, I already have it in there, so I'm not going to install this, but you can install it on your desktop. I mean, wherever you want to put it, just so you know where to go get it. Program files NT core Explorer Suite. Next, okay, have it installed. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go to program files. Oops, what did I do? NT core Explorer Suite, and you're going to have all this stuff in here, okay? This is the one you want, the CFF Explorer. You're going to right click and run as admin, and you can actually even close this out, okay? You want to open your FSX execute file, okay? This one got me, and that's why I had to get with Paul on it. I'm so used to, and when you're like me and Paul and the rest of these guys that have been doing this a long time, you're so used to searching for your FSX config, because that's the one you need for everything. Even though when you read the instructions, it says specifically find FSX exe execute file. For some reason, you see config, okay? And there's directions in here. The README text tells you exactly what you need to do. But I know what we're looking for. So obviously we open this, right click, run as admin. This is the page. Whoops, that's the page that come up. You click file, open. Now we're going to go to not our FSX config, but our main flight sim folder, wherever that is. And we're going to go down to the FSX execute file, which is this, okay? Double click it. It's going to open this up for you. Now you want to go file header, I believe. Yes, file header under NT headers, okay? Click file header. You're going to see your FSX exe. All this is going to be here. See this click here? We want to click there. Now it's going to pull this characteristics page up, window up. App can handle more than 2 gig address space, okay? For Windows 7 users, and I think Vista, Windows 7 and Windows 8, this is probably already going to be checked. Uncheck it. Click OK. Click this again. Come back in and recheck it. OK. Close. Save changes to Flight Simulator FSX execution file? Yes. Overwrite original file? Sure. You're done. Okay, what that does is it changes, it tricks FSX into using 4 gig of memory instead of 2 gig of memory. And that's Paul's tweak. And in his PDF, I'm sure he explains how it works, why it does what it does. If not, get with him on his page and ask him if it's something you're, a little timid about using. He can explain it much better than I can, so I'm not even going to attempt it. All I will tell you is it's a tweak to trick FSX into using the full 4 gig of memory instead of just 2 gig of memory. And I walked you through how to do it. Obviously, if you need to back it up and watch it again, I did go through it kind of quick. I apologize. So where are we at? What have I done here? I've showed you Paul's Explorer Suite trick for the memory. I've showed you how to change your paging file, showed you how to set it to high performance. I've showed you the Behodi tweaks and some other tweaks, and I will finish this with if you have any questions about any of these tweaks, you can ask me about them, or if it's about the Explorer Suite, the memory trick, or other tweaks than what I've showed you on here, I would recommend you just go to Paul and download his PDF with all of his tweaks, or most of his tweaks. Download that, open it up, and you can go through each one, and it explains, what you need to do and why it does what it does. And then get with Paul on them, on any of them, if you have questions about them. Anything I've showed you today, more than welcome to get with me. I know about these, I can tell you about them. But anything other than those, like I said, I would highly recommend you go to Paul's page and ask Paul, or the FSX Next Generation page and ask those guys. Paul's there as well, along with Jurgen and Nick. Ask them about the other tweaks that I haven't covered. But anything I've covered here today, you're more than welcome to ask me about it on my page. My email is fsxflightsimadict@yahoo.com. If you'd prefer to contact me on my email, that's fine. Or just PM me on my FSX Flight Simatic page on Facebook. There was something else I really wanted to show you guys, and I can't remember what it was. I gotta stop that from doing that. I don't know what the deal is with that. Let's go to Facebook. Yeah, see, Paul's at it, man. Page is back up, and he's at it big time. That's some nice shots. Look at that. That's got to be Dubai, maybe. No, it's low. That's low in Vienna, Austria. That's nice. This one's pretty cool too. Nice VRS F18. I'll like that. Okay, let's go to his page here. That's what I want to show you. This is his page. This is Paul. This is who you need to talk to about a lot of the tweaks. And like I said, I'm trying to see if he's got his PDF on here for you guys. Working on another PDF. Let's see. You might just have to ask him for it or check on FSX Next Generation. But all the tweaks early on, was that it? No, that's FSX Next Generation. If you go back to history, when he first started the page, there's tweaks are listed on there as well. But I think that's it for now, man. I think that's what I'm going to cover. That gets you through some of the basic stuff and how to try it. So the next one I'm going to work on here is going to be another REX video. And I've had some guys asking me, saying they've been having problems when they open FSX through REX. They don't know how to do that. A couple people were, I guess, assuming that REX was an all-in-one weather engine, clouds, textures, plus UTX and GEX all in one. It did all the ground textures, and that's not what it does. And I was kind of surprised to find out that I had a few questions about, is this all there is? And when you open up the REX GUI on textures, they didn't know that all those little boxes you could click on and it pulls up lots more textures. They just assumed those boxes was it and that's all they had. So I'm gonna have to cover a lot more basic stuff on REX and walk you guys through it. Someone asked about, does it have random weather? Yes, it does. You can choose rain, snow, thunderstorms, fair weather. It'll randomly pick textures for each of those categories. But anyway, I'll cover that on the REX video. But guys, hopefully this helps you, especially with finding your FSX config, the basic Jesus Behodi tweak, and the other ones I showed you. Just do those and fire up FSX, go fly, and see what kind of performance changes are made. If you need to change some things, obviously I showed you which ones to start working with. And then go to Paul. Get with Paul on some of these other tweaks. And between him and I, we should hopefully be able to get your FSX to where you're hopefully able to get screenshots like this and hopefully even better. But I'll go for now, and I appreciate all you guys being fans of the page and liking on it, and just glad you guys are all around, man. I love helping you guys out, so that's what it's all about. But anyway, happy flying, guys, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks. See you later.